I met a gypsy.
Like the kid that was on the 60 at Charlotte.
Yeah.
That was jumping the triple and the finish on a 65, dude.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on, man?
That's where these Strider and then they go into the Stasics and then, the development. These kids are like, I remember on a 65, like there's no way I was doing a double that big.
No, dude. No, like it probably didn't seem possible.
No.
Like there'd be people that were just like, oh, like you can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder when we're going to get the first Stasic Supercross rider. I wonder if there is one.
I don't know. The skill that these kids are coming up with, I even think we're starting to see it a little bit. Maybe not that era yet, but like when two guys, for example, I watch is Chase and Jet.
Yeah.
And the stuff, like when I'm just watching from the stands or the outdoors and I see them doing stuff, if like watching, like one time Chase was just floating his front through the sand. Like it was like, you could just see that thing was just not even tracking, but he was drifting. He had it under control. And I was like, that is so gifted. And even the stuff I see Jet doing, it's just like those two guys, what they can do on a bike. I mean, I just like, wow, that's impressive.
Do you remember seeing that clip of Tim Geiser? Was one of the GP rounds, and it's on Pete Fox's Instagram. Could you try and find that, Talon? If you go to Pete Fox on Instagram, there's like a shot of Tim Geiser going through these sand. It's the gnarliest sand section, and just his head doesn't move at all, and his body is just like so straight and it's just so smooth, and he's just flowing through this. It was a while ago. Like you'd probably have to go back a bit, but yeah, I mean, you're just like, how? It's so incredibly rough, and you're right. Like you see some of the stuff that Jet and Chase do, like even Super Motocross last year at LA, like Chase went down there, but I mean, there's a way that they're just fully sending it into that sand, and it's just like 3 rollers just and out. Yeah. You're just like, how?
Yeah, I remember them coming down that Coliseum, and I'm thinking, man, the way they were like flicking it back that really tight chicane into the sand, it ended up biting Chase, but I was watching the same thing. I was like, that is amazing.
And just every single lap.
Yeah.
From practice to the end of the main event, and everyone's doing it. Like just the level that those guys are riding at is just out of control.
Yeah.
What was it like when you came back for the outdoors? Like, because I remember thinking you'd see like press day footage, and you'd see like, obviously the races, but more so like the Racer X videos, like what Tom would do. You're kind of getting more of like a side track view, and it seemed like you just sat down more than like Chase or so you could literally just see that in a couple years, like this was the best dude, like this was the guy, and he sits down more than the new best guy, and it seems crazy that it's like in a couple years it changed.
I actually was like a couple rounds in, I'm like, all right, I need to start standing more. So I try to like change my whole riding style to like pick up what they were doing, standing longer, coming into the turns and all these things. And I was like, why wasn't I doing that way before this, But anyway, yeah, just things that had progressed. I mean, you got, like we were saying, guys like Chase, Eli, I mean, even that speed, the intensity, the fitness, it all had just gone to another level. The bikes.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show, I mean, that was 5 years later, and I hate to say it, like, wow, it was impressive racing against those guys, but there's just sometimes Chase would get bad starts all the time, and he'd come through the pack.
Yeah.
And he's so good at just coming through the pack, like early in the race, if it's a bad start or something. And the way he would come flying by, I was just like, it's wow. I didn't know I just like how he's doing that is incredible. And all right, let's get back to the race. Like,
you're taking a little sidebar.
I'm like, dude, this is nice little ego reducer. But no, it was just cool to see just kind of pick up on those things, learn and study, watch, and
Is that? Is this? I don't know. Nah, I think it's. When was this? Yeah, it might be hard to find, but it was like, there was just a clip of him going through this sand section in Europe, and it, like, I watched it so many times because I just thought it was fake. Like I thought they'd done some kind of like image stabilization, or they can like track to someone's head or whatever. But I just watched it over and I'm like, no, that's just a real clip of like that dude being that insanely smooth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. And I even going back to the 4-strokes, it's like, I think they're more rigid, but they're more tighter, more of a tighter connected bike. So you have this bike now that with the rider there's more predictability. There's more consistency. I mean, you can do these things, they're not all soft and flexing and wobbling around anymore, So I think it's really helped elevate things to another level too.
So like more precise in a way.
Yes.
Because so that would be harder to manage at times, I'm sure. Like it's like, I could imagine it working in a pocket. Like you want to set up your bike to be very stiff and rigid so that it has that like very precise feeling, but as that would require you to be very precise. And if you're operating outside of the window that your bike is, then that's when it can go wrong, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah, I think a simple way to put it too is just like your window. I mean, when you're setting up a bike, you're trying to find a good sized window. It's hard to find this window to stay in and be there and consistently work across all tracks. But I mean, if you can find it, there's just the bike's more precise, more consistent. Of course, and that's the hard thing. It's too with these today. It's like 450s. There's so many things you can change. I mean, it's engine hangers. You got different bolts, steel bolts, tie bolts. You got fork different. Size 52, 48, longer shock, shorter shock, longer forks, lugs offset. I mean, it's like endless, And so, and not to mention inside the suspension.
Yeah.
The infinity number of ways you could, do that configure that setup, the shim stack and all that stuff. I don't even know anything about that. Trust the experts with that. But yeah. So it's just, there's so many things, but so makes it tough to find that, but everybody does eventually.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.